Hey, Tyler from Matthews. Today I'm talking to you about the DC slider motion control system. As some of you know, the DC slider works on a precision counterbalance system. So if you've got a 10 or 15 pound camera package, you add 10 or 15 pounds of counterweight, as you see here. I'm going to go into the motion control today. So we'll start with what comes in the kit, how you mount the motor, and all the different fun stuff you can do with it. You've got manual movement, you've got recorded movement. You can save those recorded moves permanently. You've also got time-lapse and stop motion functions available to you, especially good if you're using DSLRs. Okay, so we've got the motion control box here with all the components. I'm going to go ahead and open it up. First thing that you should see is the warranty card. Please fill this out and send it in. Then you've got the remote control, which will allow you to do all the different functions I will be going over today. The step motor, which comes with the mounting plate inside. Your power cord. Standard 1.5 amp power cord with a 2.1 millimeter pin. Your mounting equipment for the plate. Your LEMO cable, which will attach or connect the motion control controller to the step motor. And a little lanyard so you can actually hang your remote control wherever is convenient for you. And I'm going to go ahead and bring the rail up here, show you how to mount the motor, and then we'll go into the functions. So I've got everything out of the box. I've got the step motor, the remote control, the power cord, the LEMO cable which connects the motor to the remote control, your mounting hardware which will allow you to connect the motor to the spline on the slider. So first things first, take your the Allen wrench, which actually comes in the smaller of the two slider cases. You've got a set of 3 Allen wrenches in there. It's the middle one that you're going to want to use to mount the plate to the spline section using the 4 set screws that come in the motion control kit. So go ahead and take the screws, mount them on here with the Allen wrench, and then we'll be ready to actually mount the motor and then the cable system. So now that we've got the threaded ring on, we're going to want to go ahead and take the motor with the spinning threaded part on here and mount this to the plate on the slider. Make sure that's really snug. All the way down to the end there. Nice and firm. Okay. Now we're ready to actually connect the remote control with the LEMO cable. And the opposite end into the motor. Now that we've got the motor mounted, the cord connecting the step motor to the remote control, we're almost ready to power the thing up. But first you need to move your camera platform to the middle of the rail so the system knows where it's at on the rail at all times. Be sure not to plug the power in until you do this. So I've got it here in the middle. I just line up the holes on the platform with the middle section of the rail, and I know I'm ready to power up. So you just plug 2.1 millimeter pin in there. Then you're ready to plug the plug into your power source. All right, now that we've got the power plugged in, the float cam symbol comes up. Then we've got the set reference screen that comes up. That basically means we're telling the system that the camera is in the middle of the rail. So go ahead and accept it by hitting that flashing symbol here. It's like a check symbol. So use the button here to accept that. It's gonna load. Now that that's done, I can actually go ahead and use the remote control in its basic function, the manual function. So I can use the dial knob here to move the camera sled left and right as needed. So I'll go ahead and do a left and a right. Let me go into the other functions you have on the remote control. You've got your ramping, which is how fast or slow the camera carriage is going to start and stop. So you've got an option from 1 all the way up to 10. Let's put it on 10 for a nice damp start and stop. And if I go to the speed range, you've got options from 1 all the way up to 20 centimeters a second, which is the top speed of the unit. So the system comes with factory presets. One of them being the distance limits, the virtual ends of the rail. So you need to make sure those are set before you go ahead and begin. Otherwise, you're at risk of banging the end of the camera platform against the end of the rail, which you don't want to do. To reset the distance limits, it's quite simple. You go to the set function by hitting that button, and you've got a few different options here. You've got speed mode, which I'll go into in a little bit. You've got distance limit, that's what we want to focus on now. You've also got repeat movement and extend, which I'll go into later. So let's go ahead and scroll down to distance limit. I'm going to go ahead scrolling down with the arrow button there and then accepting it with the check mark. Now I'm on the distance limit screen. So if I go ahead and turn that off, it's on right now. If I turn it off, it's going to allow me to change those distance limits as needed. So the on is blinking. Go ahead and use the plus button to turn it off. So now that I have the distance limits off, I want to change the left and the right side limit because I have the feet on the end of the rail here. If I didn't have the feet on the end of the rail and I was using a single tripod, I'd be able to span the whole rail. But in this case, the platform and or the counterbalance sled is actually going to run into the feet. So I need to shorten up the limits to ensure that's not going to happen. If you end up hitting the end of the rail, or if the system acts funny in any way, just go ahead and unplug it. That'll reset everything. Plug it back in, but before you do, make sure you put the camera or the camera platform back in the center. And plug it back in and you're ready to go again. So you can see my current position is 64.7 centimeters on the left. I'm going to go ahead and accept that. And now my left side matches my current position, which is 64.7 centimeters. I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing for the right. You can see this is moving according to where the system is on the rail. Now my current position is 59.5 centimeters on the right. I'm going to toggle down and accept that as well. Now I've got my limits set for both the left and the right, and I'm going to go ahead and turn that on. And now I'm ready to go. Now that my distance limits are set, let's go ahead and record a move and play it back. So if I hit record and I make a move, let's just do that for now as an example. Stop recording. I can go ahead and play that back by hitting the play button next to the record button. So if I hit play, it's going to go back to position 1. Once it gets to position 1, I hit play again and it's going to run its course. All right. Now let's say I like that move and I want to save it. I've got 9 storage banks in the system here. So if I hit the menu button on the top right and I toggle down to memory and select memory, I've got 9 storage banks. So let's save this under number 1. It's going to tell you done, which means the save was good. And let's say I want to read number 1, meaning play number 1. Go down to read 1, accept that. It's going to tell you done, and then it's going to go to the main screen. So now I can hit play again, and it's going to play that move. Now that I have a recorded move saved, let's go back into the set function and see what these have to offer. I've got a repeat movement setting and an extend setting. The repeat movement setting is going to allow me to basically tell the system to repeat that saved move between 1 and 999 times. So you can toggle using the plus and minus switches here to various numbers depending on what you're looking to do. Let's say you wanted to extend the time of that movement. I can extend from 1 to 99 times. That means if I've got a move that lasts 10 seconds and I want it to be twice as slow, I toggle over on the extend function here and use the plus sign to move that to number 2. It's now going to take 20 seconds to make that move. I can do that all the way up to 99 times. So you can really, really slow down that move where it could almost last days, not just seconds. So we'll go ahead and leave that at repeat movement 801 times and extend at 2 times. All you have to do after you have that set is press menu, and you know you're good to go when you see the E plus the play and the play. The double plays mean that it's on repeat mode. The E means it's on time extension. You don't have to do both at the same time. But in this case, let's go ahead and use that as an example. I'm going to hit the play button, or the double play button with the E next to it, and it's going to bring me to position 1. Once it's at position 1, I hit play again, and it's now going to go twice as slow, and it's going to repeat 801 times. All right, now we're going to have some fun. I'm going to show you how to do some time lapse and stop motion. So if I go into the menu, I've got 4 different options for time lapse and stop motion. 2 for time lapse, 2 for stop motion. We're currently using a DSLR. The DSLR would be the best thing to use if you want to use these functions, because we have camera control cables we offer, 2 for Canon, 2 for Nikon, depending on which cameras you're using. So let me show you the time-lapse continuous and how I can control the camera using the built-in intervalometer of the remote control to fire the camera and control the overall exposure of the images. So the switch is actually blinking for time-lapse continuous. So let's go ahead and select that. Now it's going to ask me, do I want to use manual or do I want to use a saved track for my time lapse? Earlier we recorded a move on track number 1. I could use that move for a time lapse or any move I've saved in bank 1 through 9. But in this case, let's go to manual. I'll manually program point A and point B on my rail, tell it how many shots I want it to take and how long I want it to do the lapse in. So if I toggle down to shots, I could do 9,000 shots if I wanted to, but for the demo, let's do 30 shots. Now it's asking me my overall exposure for my imaging. I'm going to set that at, or leave it at 0.3 seconds. That tends to work really well for me. Now it's asking me my start position and stop position. Let's do 20 centimeters to the left. You can see there's a left and a right arrow here next to the start and stop position. Let's leave it at 20 centimeters to the left and 30 centimeters to the right. I could easily toggle over and change that as needed all the way up to my distance limit. So if my limits are at 40 centimeters to the right, that's the furthest I could go to the right. Let me bring that back to 30. Now it's asking me my overall work time. I could do up to 99 hours for a time lapse, or I could really do a few seconds if I wanted to. for the demo. We'll leave it at 1 minute. I'm gonna go down. It's gonna ask me, do I wanna go ahead and run the time lapse or do I wanna test it? If I hit test, it's gonna show me what the move's gonna look like, in a short amount of time. It's not gonna take the full 99 hours or 1 minute to run the test. It's just gonna show me where point A and point B are. That looks pretty good to me. It just ran its course. Now I'm gonna toggle down to operate. It's telling me to actually, do I wanna go ahead and run it? So yes, I'm gonna accept that. It's gonna go back to position A, and I'm gonna start it. All right. The system's not limited to DSLRs. You can use, your Red Epics, you can use your F3s, you can use pretty much any camera package, to the slider's rating of 22 pounds. The camera control cables make it really fun though if you are using DSLRs, just because you can control different functions of the camera from the remote control. Let's go further into the time lapse. I can go into the menu here. I've got another option of time lapse. I've got time lapse after shot. That's a little different than time lapse continuous, because time lapse continuous will run a continuous path down the rail without stopping before each shot. The time lapse after shot runs the camera, stops it before each shot. So if you go here and I toggle down to time lapse after shot, it's going to ask me how many shots I want to do. Let's leave it at 100. How long are my exposures? We'll leave it at 0.3 seconds. Toggle to the next menu. Where I want it to start, where I want it to stop as far as centimeters from the left to the right or right to left. And it's asking me my overall work time. So it'll automatically compute based on how many shots you put in and the distance. But you can go in and change that time to whatever you want, 3 minutes or 99 hours or whatever you need to do for your time lapse. Just like the last time, the last function, time lapse continuous, I toggle down and it's asking me if I want to test it or do I just want to do it. In this case, let's just go ahead and do it. So it's going to go to position 1. In this case, I did 10 centimeters to the left to 10 centimeters to the right, so it's a very short distance, but it's okay for the test. So now, it's moving and stopping before each shot. And that's pretty much it for time-lapse after shots. All right, now that we covered time-lapse, let's cover the stop-motion functions. You've got 2 stop-motion functions, stop-motion distance and stop-motion shots. Stop-motion distance allows you to program the distance between each shot and then initiate the shot manually. Before I go down and select that function, I need to get out of this menu and go to the Set menu and change the speed mode from radial, meaning using this large knob here to go left and right, and also control the speed. But I need to switch it from that to directional, so I can use these 2 buttons here, which allow me to select left or right for my direction on the rail. So to switch that, I hit the plus button. Now you can see it's changed from the radial symbol to the directional symbol. It's the play with the pause button. Get out of there. Now go back to your main menu, toggle down to stop motion distance, select that. Now that I've selected stop motion distance, it's automatically preset at 1 centimeter between each shot. Let's go ahead and change that to 5 centimeters to give you more of an exaggerated look. Once I've selected 5 centimeters, toggle down, and now I'm ready to go. I've got my direction of right and left here. So if I move the camera to the right, I can hit shot and it's going to fire the camera. I can keep going to the left or right, hit shot again. Let's say I messed up the previous configuration on whatever I'm shooting. If I'm making, claymation and the arm fell off on one of my claymation figures, I could go back to the previous shot by hitting the opposite direction button and retake the shot. So it's really basic. all you're doing is programming the distance between each shot and then initiating the shutter with this button here. If I go back to the menu, I've got stop motion shots. But before I go to any other functions here, other than stop motion distance, I need to go back to set, and I need to reset my speed mode from directional to radial just by hitting the plus button. Now you can see the new symbol is blinking there, and we're ready to go. So if I go back to menu, let's toggle down to stop motion shots. Go ahead and select that. Now I've got a brand new menu. It's asking me where I want the start position to be, where I want the stop position, just kind of, you know, similar to time lapse. It's also going to ask me how many shots I want it to take and overall exposure for the camera. So the system's going to go ahead and work as fast as it can between point A and point B. So if I pick 20 centimeters to the left, scroll down and do 20 centimeters to the right, and you tell it to take 100 shots, 1,000 shots, whatever, it's going to take that 1,000 or 100 shots as fast as it can between point A and point B. Go ahead and toggle down. You can set your exposure just like before. I like to leave it at 0.3 seconds. It's worked really well for me in the past. And I can either test it just like the time-lapse functions I showed you earlier, or I can go ahead and run it. So it's going to go to point A. Once it gets to point A, it's going to ask me to start. I'm going to say yes, and now it's going to run its course. Thanks for watching the video. I hope it helped. If you get any great footage of time-lapse or stop motion, we'd love to see it. Other than that, happy shooting. We'll see you soon. Thanks.